we'll start kind of at who we are as a school. For those of you who have students here, you have probably seen and heard this many, many times. This is really our foundation for the entire school, and it certainly carries over into our middle school. And we really focus on the whole child, and we really do believe that they are unique creations of God and that they are created for a purpose, and we really are so blessed to be a part of helping them discover that purpose and their talents. So we do believe each child is a unique creation of God, and our mission is to nourish the spirit, challenge the mind, and strengthen the body in a Christian environment, encouraging each child to achieve his or her maximum potential as a contributing member of society. And all of our teachers go back, and we frequently begin meetings just taking a look at this and recalling it as okay, this is why we are here, and it's a common language among our faculty. And when we look at our programs and we look at our curriculum and all the things we do, we go back to this, and we look at our mission, because that really is what drives us as an entire school and as a middle school. And then sort of keying off of what Mr. Kleekamp said just about middle school in general, and you guys may have experienced some of this already, because I taught fifth grade religion for many years here at Holy Comforter, and it really does start in fifth grade. So, some of you guys may be experiencing that preteen, teen, adolescent angst already and seeing a little bit of that come out in your kids. And so this is kind of how we are as middle school teachers. Preteens are living proof that you can love someone with every fiber of your being while still hoping they'll leave the room. And it really is just a matter of embracing these years and understanding everything that's happening with these kids, because it happens socially, it happens emotionally, academically, and everything changes sometimes hour to hour with these guys. And the first thing when Mr. Kleekamp and I are interviewing a candidate for a middle school position, one of the first questions, if not the first question, is, why middle school? Because it really does take someone special who understands and who embraces the changes that happen in this time frame. And if they don't say, well, because they're kind of nuts, and I really like that, or because, they experience so much growth, and I really want to be a part of that, then the conversation is very short, because we want people who want to be with this age group, who want to invest in these kids completely. And so that really is what we ask our faculty to do, is invest in these guys holistically. They are experts in their fields as far as curriculum is concerned, but they are truly committed to these kids in this time frame and bringing them as far as they possibly can and riding those waves of emotions with these guys as they work through these 3 years. So then what's kind of the goal for us? Where are we going? Well, we have to prepare them for high school, because we don't have one, so they have to leave. And my 8th graders now, that we're in the second half of 8th grade, and many of these guys have been here since they were 3 and 4 years old, and you'll hear them in the hallway like, oh, I just can't wait to leave. Oh my gosh, I'm so done with Holy Comforter, and I can't wait to be able to, not have to wear a uniform, or, not do this, or not have Mrs. Vernon over my shoulder every time I turn around. And I'll say, well, that's good. Then we've done our job, because you have to leave. So we prepare them for high school, and we want them to have all the skills to be successful wherever they go. And that picture, I could, look back at that picture we had at the beginning, and virtually every high school in Tallahassee is represented in that picture. And those kids do extremely well wherever they go, because we have to prepare them for a variety of places. And it really is a benefit to our kids that we have great relationships with the high schools. And so we kind of know the expectation of these places, and we really do work to make sure they are prepared to succeed and really lead wherever they go. So it is certainly a foundational knowledge, skills, and organization preparation for high school. But of course, we want these guys ultimately to be successful in life. And so we are preparing them with life skills. and including, the 21st century skills, which I think I was looking at my PowerPoint and thinking, I think it's sort of passé to say 21st century skills now because we're well into this. But those all still are important. Communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, information literacy, how to process everything. So those are really important skills that we focus on with these guys, not just looking at how are you going to need these in high school, but how are you going to need these beyond high school, just in your interactions with people to be successful as you move on to careers. So we have a very long-range goal in mind with these guys, again, as we're preparing them holistically for challenges that they face to be really successful in whatever course they choose. And then, as Mr. Kleekamp mentioned, a big one for us is independence and self-advocacy. We want them to take ownership of their education, of course, primarily here, but again, take ownership of who they are and the choices they make and the decisions that they make, and all facets, of their lives. And so that really happens, like Mr. Kleekamp said, over the 3-year process of this middle school. And, we take them in as really fifth graders as they enter that 6th grade year. They're still, very young, very concrete learners. And so step by step, we encourage them and we give them the skills to take ownership, to be independent. And then, again, as 8th graders, we're really asking them, well, what do you want to do about this? Have you talked to your teacher? What do you think about this? To help them, again, develop those skills because, most of the time in high school, the teachers aren't going to come after them for assignments. The teachers aren't necessarily going to be as proactive with these guys as we are in middle school. And so we want them to be comfortable going to teachers, reaching out, and advocating for themselves and asking for help and finding the resources that they need. And it's not easy. I mean, my children knew these teachers just from, birth a lot of times. And it's still, when I would say, as, one of my daughters as an 8th grader, you need to talk to your teacher. But I don't want to. You've known these people your whole life, but it was still difficult for them. But it was, you need to talk to your teacher. Well, Mom, can't you do it? Yes, but I'm not going to. You need to talk to your teacher. You need to talk to your teacher. And it is one of the things that I think has benefited them the most as they've worked through the process of high school and now college. So it really is something that is important to us, as is character. You'll hear the kids, roll their eyes. You'll see them roll their eyes when I say, but we want you to be good people too. We want you to know a lot of things, but we really want you to be good people when you leave here. This is a huge piece for us, this character piece. There's so much that comes at these guys, and we really want to help them manage it. And that is a difficult and sometimes messy and ugly process because they do it very badly a lot of times. And so we jump in and help them in those moments when they need, of course, correction, but we're also very proactive in placing them in situations, giving them opportunities, giving them scenarios to work through stuff that they encounter. How do you deal with these relationships? How do you deal with this information? Texting, social media. Oh my gosh, if I could get rid of that, that would make my job so much easier. But it's a reality, and it's a reality that they have every day, really. So it is something that we are very, very, very intentional about, is developing character for these guys. And we have a variety of ways to do that, but it's embedded in our classrooms and in the conversations that our teachers have with these kids every day, because if they don't have that foundation, it's just so much harder for them to be successful. So that truly is a key component of what we want them to have when they leave here. So then basic philosophies, kind of what we believe. Begin with the end in mind. If you know Stephen Covey, I, of course, stole that from him. And Holy Cover is a 3-year program. If I could really sort of get rid of grade levels, I really would, because it's a 3-year process with these guys. But of course, we can't get rid of grades and grade levels. But we are a 3-year program. And so, we take a holistic approach to this. And, we, of course, have subject areas for 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. But what we look at is where they come in and where we want them when they leave. And how can we leverage those whole 3 years to really impact? So, for some kids, it's a slower process than others. Some kids jump in, they get the organization, and by, second semester of 6th grade, they're on it. Sometimes it is second semester of 8th grade before they're on it. And so that's when we look at these guys, again, unique creations of God, individuals, but we have a beginning and we have a goal at the end, and we take all those 3 years, if necessary, to get these kids as far as they can go. So it's not, I have a lot of parents, oh my gosh, by the end of 6th grade, something just isn't clicking. It doesn't look like it does with some other kids, and, we're good, we're okay, it's going to be okay, because all of these things are pieces that run throughout these 3 years, all of those character pieces, all of those organizational skills, the study habits. It's all embedded, and it really is a process with these guys. It is a tough school. You may have heard, hey, it's pretty tough, that Holy Comforter Middle School. That is intentional. And we give them all the support they need to be successful, but we really believe rigor is an important part of this process, particularly 6th and 7th grade when the stakes are pretty low and there's not a whole lot of high school classes, right? We're worried about high school credit, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we push these kids particularly to think very critically. And it hurts sometimes. You can see their heads are spinning and their eyes are sort of glazed over because they're just struggling to think. But that's what we want. We really do challenge them academically, and we challenge them socially, and we challenge them emotionally, because in those challenges, it's really where the growth happens. And so they may feel a little bit less successful than they have in elementary school, particularly right off the bat, because they have had to work a little bit harder and they're being pushed a little bit harder. But again, our teachers are wonderful at giving them the support that they need. But it is not easy. They don't sail academically through middle school. And again, that is intentional on our part, because they need to learn how to work hard and to manage their time and to put all those pieces in place so that they can be successful later. And it is an developmentally appropriate, challenging environment. But the kids really do thrive in that, and particularly when they are finished with it. That's, I think my girls would tell you 2 things. They learned how to work hard, and they learned how to talk to their teachers. And that truly is something that has really helped them as they've worked their way through, again, high school and now college. So, when you hear oh my gosh, this is really hard, or you look at something and you're like, wow, that is kind of tough. Yes, it is. And we want them to have to work hard and have to figure out things. We also believe, of course, it's a time of self-discovery, growing independence, emphasis on relationship with teacher, and leading to self-advocacy, as we said. It's such a fun time. These guys are exploring. It's really very much like when they were 3 or 4. And their emotions sometimes are very much like when they were 3 or 4. But if you look at brain development, there's so much that happens. It's just this explosion of language and emotion and learning when they're little tiny, 2 to 4 years old. That same brain movement happens in this time period, which explains a little bit why they're kind of 3 or 4 year olds every now and then. And it's because there's so much going on. There's so much emotion. There's so much learning happening in their brains, and it's so fun to watch. It's fun to watch their eyes light up. It's fun to watch them discover something that they had no idea that they could be passionate about. And so we really give them opportunities to discover, to explore, to play. They do a lot of experiments in our science class. They do a lot of really great, projects in a lot of our classes, and it's all about discovery, really, for them. Again, asking questions, thinking critically, but also really giving them opportunities to experience all sorts of sports. We've got different clubs. We have all sorts of activities that give them a chance just to try something. Our sports programs are wonderful. We don't cut kids, right? If you want to play a sport, you get to play a sport. We have different levels of teams, but it's about being able to try something. We want them to try, because in that trying, they will often experience some sort of failure. Again, wonderful teacher. and then the ability to climb back up to be successful, but also they just try something and they're successful and they really love it. And that is really fun to watch these guys do that kind of exploration. As I said, failure, making mistakes is okay, and a very powerful teacher. We want them to know you're not perfect, right? You're going to miss the mark sometimes, and here's how we grow from that. And here's how we fix whatever it is that maybe we did wrong, whether it is an issue with social issues, which of course happen at this age, and how to navigate those kinds of relationships. If it's, I just didn't study enough for my test, my notes aren't good enough, all of those things we take a look at, and we don't run from the challenges of this age. We really want to help them walk through those opportunities to grow so that they understand they are not perfect and they can recover when things go badly. So we don't shy away from the mistakes and failures, and we have them ourselves. That's what, I tell parents a lot of times, like, we are not perfect teachers, but we grow just like these guys do. And we admit our mistakes and we move on and we grow from them. So it's a philosophy that is permeated throughout the middle school, and you'll occasionally hear a teacher say, oh my gosh, guys, I did that really badly. Hey, let's do this again. We're going to try something again. So mistakes are embraced, and we grow from those. Effective middle school program balance addresses the intellectual, spiritual, social, and emotional. These guys are whole people, and they are really able to do some extraordinary things. And it's such a privilege to be in a place where we can really address all of those pieces of that kid. And we don't, we are an Episcopal school. We welcome all faiths. We absolutely do speak and teach and really help these kids foster a relationship with God from a Christian perspective, but we certainly do not force anything on these guys. Again, another opportunity to explore, to be exposed to things, and to grow in their spiritual relationships as well. So again, we're so privileged to be able to teach and to work in a place where we can talk to these kids about all aspects of this, and we really do take seriously really working with these guys to grow in all of those areas. As I said, work ethic and character are as important as academic and grades. It's just so much of who we are, to help these kids develop a work ethic and their character. And this is sort of the language that we use. So all of those beliefs are put into, this is our honor code for our middle school. The kids say this every morning as a part of the announcements with the pledge. And today, and actually they developed this. So several years ago, we had our target classes, which I'll talk about in just a second. It's kind of our advisory program, went through and just talked about the beliefs of Holy Comforter Middle School. It's a little bit like, for those of you who are here this year, our strategic plan. We sort of developed a strategic plan for our middle school. And what are our core beliefs and what are our core values? And so the kids really helped come up with this honor code. So today, with God's help, I will be honest, encouraging, and compassionate. I will strive to be my very best and use my God-given gifts to be the difference in my school and community. I will lead my fellow students and be an example for others. I will make responsible choices and respect my teachers and peers. And really our tagline, when you'll hear this pretty frequently around the middle school, I will work hard and be nice. So it really boils down to, when we tell the kids, like, easy language, have you worked hard? Have you been nice? So when they end up in my office or with Mr. Snowden, our Dean of Students, and we'll say, hey, like, where did we miss the mark? It pretty much falls into one of those categories. I didn't work hard, or I wasn't very nice. And that's going to happen to all of us. And so then, we really do a process of walking the kids through that. But this is the common language that we use with these guys. So, in any given circumstance, they know, like, hey, are you being the difference? You're being a difference. Are you being a good difference? Or are you not being a good difference, right? In your school and in your community. You are leading your fellow students. Which direction are you leading your fellow students? So they know from the moment they set foot in, and there's a version of this that the lower school uses, so it's not unfamiliar to them. as well. But when they get into the middle school, it really becomes a part of their everyday and just a common language that helps us communicate with them and helps them really reflect on, what's happening with them in middle school. Some more practical pieces of our curriculum. We have 5 core academic areas: language arts, math, social studies, science, and foreign language. And then we have a rotating requirement, which is FIT, Foundation in Technology, really important for these guys at this age. Some of them may already have cell phones. By the time they hit 8th grade, pretty much all of them have cell phones. If you're holding off, hold off, keep going, it's okay. When they say they're the only one, they're not the only one. But it is really important because we are a bring-your-own-device school. So in 6th grade, these guys do have laptops, and that opens up an entire world. And so we want to jump on helping them navigate that and using that tool appropriately. So in 6th grade, it's a full year course, our Foundations in Technology class. 7th and 8th grade, they move into PE in 7th grade and HOPE, a health class, in 8th grade. And that is, it's a PE and sort of classroom class, and it fulfills a high school requirement for Leon County. So if you have a kid that's gone through high school in Leon County, the HOPE course, that fulfills that credit in 8th grade. But it's a really great, again, opportunity to invest in these kids holistically. That health class, talking to them about choices, and it's a really great class in 8th grade as they start to transition out of middle school into high school. So all of those classes, and then we have high school credits up to 2 in algebra and geometry. They could take 8th grade honors biology. All of those high school classes are at the honors level, and there's some specifications and qualifications for those. They are available. They are not necessary. It is perfectly fine for your kid to do high school in high school. And that's what, I had one daughter that, excelled and did all those other classes, and the other daughter, we're doing high school in high school. And it is perfectly fine. So it really is, just a matter of, is your kid ready for that kind of experience? But we do offer that, and we have up to 2 credits in foreign language. We have Latin, Spanish, and French, and most of them will go into the intro level in 6th grade of one of their languages they get to choose. And then if they stick with that same language for all 3 years, they will have a credit in, Spanish 1 as a combination of 6th and 7th grade. That fulfills Spanish 1 or Latin 1 or French 1. And then the second level happens in 8th grade. So they could take intro to those languages all 3 years and just be exposed to a bunch of different languages. Most of them track through one language for those 3 years and end up with that high school credit in both of those courses. Again, an option, but not mandatory. And then, of course, our HOPE credit, which I talked about. So we do offer a really great academic program. We have amazing teachers that, like I said, are experts in their fields. We have a rotating block schedule, which I will not put up because it might freak you out a little bit because it looks ridiculous for those of you. I have some returning middle school parents and some existing middle school parents, and the kids get it right away. The parents look at that paper and I just don't get it. But since you're not walking through it every day, it's harder. But our classes, they rotate through about a 3-day cycle. And so you'll have, math in the morning one day, and then you'll have math in the afternoon, and then there's a day you probably won't have math. So the classes are 70 minutes long, which we found is a really, really great time to give us opportunity to do lesson and then really discovery and exploration and hands-on activity. Years and years ago, we had the 45, 50-minute classes, and we moved to this block schedule, and our teachers loved it. It reduces transition times between classes, which is where these guys can get themselves into trouble, so that's also very helpful. But it gives these teachers a really great opportunity for discovery and exploration and really working with the kids. And it it's good for these guys to kind of, not have the same thing happen every day. So you don't have the same class every day after lunch when you're in sort of that, sleepy period. And you don't have the same class at, 8:05 a.m. every day. It's not math 8:05 when it's like, oh my gosh, like this is really hard for me in the morning. So there's a lot of advantages to that program, but I'm happy to show that to you if you'd like to see it. But at our 6th grade orientation in the fall, we give more information about that. We have a great elective program. Our electives are year-long classes, but they meet every other day. So they're effectively kind of a semester class. They can pick 2 each year, and most of our 6th graders pick a PE elective because they don't have, we don't really have recess, even though they're out here playing at lunch. But they don't have PE in 6th grade, so for those kids who, just need to move around a little bit more, we've got a variety of PE electives. We have science electives. We have a great elective called Global Films. We've got a speech and debate elective. Some of those are for 7th and 8th graders only, just because we need them to have a little bit more growth to have those kinds of conversations. Our electives, there's a lot of them that are constant every year, but there's a few that change based on, which teachers are teaching electives and what we know the kids are interested in and what our teachers are passionate about. So this year I have a great elective called Plant a Passion, and it's essentially horticulture. And if you look behind our STEM building here, we've got, 4 planters beds, and they're growing food. And I know they've talked to the chef about growing more and possibly using them in the kitchen. And so, that's been a really great addition this year. So we have a wonderful elective selection, which will come out likely in May for your kiddos to choose their electives for next year. It won't look exactly the same as it does this year, but, we always have a variety for these guys to choose from. And then we have clubs during the school day. Actually, today is our first day for the 2nd semester clubs. And we, again, by semester, depending on what the kids want or the teachers are passionate about, it just is, 30 minutes once every, 6 days. That's kind of our cycle rotation. And, this time I've got, I think, an anime club. And we've got a reading club, and we've got volleyball. We got boys volleyball because the boys wanted volleyball, and we've got girls volleyball, and we've got a way out walking club, so they go to our track and just, spend 20 minutes walking. And it's a lovely day to do that today. So we've got a variety of clubs. Again, it's a mental break for these guys, just something fun for them to do, and that changes by semester. We've got a ton of different sports across all 3 seasons, and I would say 80% easily of our kids participate in a Holy Comforter sport. Again, it is a wonderful program, and even if they're not in a sport, we offer other opportunities for them to do, athletic activities that are not necessarily competition. So we really encourage that involvement for them. Team sports, tennis. We have a variety of sports that it's such good lessons for them. Time management, working together, interacting with other people. So it's also a very, very good program. And like I said, if you want to play, you get to play. You may not be in the most competitive team, particularly right away as 6th graders, but there's an opportunity for you. And we've had a lot of kids who in 8th grade, they're trying a new sport. Are they going to play in high school? Probably not. But they want to play. And so here's their opportunity to play. And that's really what we want to do with these guys. And it's so fun to watch them. It really is so fun. There's nothing better than a spring day when it's nice and warm. I like the warm weather. And you've got lacrosse, and you've got tennis, and baseball, and softball all happening on campus. It's extraordinary. I encourage you guys, if you're around here in the spring, come out, because it is such a fun atmosphere out here. And then, of course, organization and day-to-day decisions. They think in 6th grade they are so free. Like, they come in and they're like, wait, we can go to the bathroom without asking during lunch? Yeah. We don't have to walk in a line? Yeah. They really think they are just, like the freest people, which, of course, they're not. But they really think they are, which is great, right? Like, yes, you guys, you're basically grown now, right? You can decide when you want to go to the bathroom. So it's fun to see that transition. Of course, the 8th graders think they are oppressed beyond measure. So that transition happens too, but it's both hilarious on both ends. And again, like I said, some of these guys get that organization and those decisions a little easier. For those of you with boys, this is probably going to happen a little bit later. Okay, some of the girls come in and they've got the chandelier in their locker, and they got the carpet in their locker, and they got the wallpaper in their locker, and all their binders are, color-coded, and we got the flare pens and everything. I'll tell you, the chandeliers don't last. So if you can talk your kid out of the chandelier, if they say they want a chandelier, it just gets in the way, and by about the second week, they're pulling it off. So if you can talk them out of the chandelier, talk them out of the chandelier. Same thing with the carpet. It just gets in the way. And who knew there was carpet for lockers? So it really, again, it's a transition. Our 6th grade team does a great job. We spend weeks with these guys on how to organize your locker. What pattern for your classes? Do you go to your locker after your first period? Do you go to your locker after your second period? Because they can't carry backpacks to class. We want to force them into some level of organization, and they're just scattered all over, and then they'll just throw everything in the backpack, and it's just them digging through their backpack, and that is very frustrating and not good for them. So they can't bring their backpacks to class, which means they're kind of forced to figure out what to do with all that stuff and how to carry a laptop and all of that. And so again, we spend weeks with our 6th graders working through that. Mrs. Butera is our guidance counselor. She's wonderful. She has her first middle schooler this year, a boy in 6th grade. So she's got you. I got the girls. I got you, all you girl parents, and Mrs. Butera can help you with the boys. So we spend, the first couple of weeks standing in the hallway outside the 6th grade lockers, which are right outside the middle school office, like calming them down. Like, it's okay, right? Like, I know you're going to be late. It's okay. Teacher won't count it right now. We're going to figure out the lock, right? Because that's the thing. Like, what if I can't undo my lock? It's all right, right? I'll help you. We'll be okay. Half of them forgot their combination over Christmas, right? We're okay. So we stand out there and we reassure and we calm them down and we send them along, and it's just fine. And they get it for the most part, right? They took a couple of times to remember it after Christmas, and now they're good. But you can still tell the difference. Like, you open one locker and it's just chaos, next to somebody who is, nice and neat. So again, 3-year process. Sometimes it takes them 3 years to figure out how to get that locker nice and neat. But it's a constant conversation. And again, back to, really working with these guys holistically. Our target program, which I mentioned, is really our advisory program. It happens every day, but something different happens in that time period every day. It's also the same time period every day. So our elective class and our target don't rotate times. Everything else kind of rotates around those things. But we have chapel and religion in those time periods. So we have chapel, what amounts to about twice a week. Mother Beth does our chapels. I do a lot of the chapels. Mr. Kleekamp will do our chapels as well. And then they have religion with Mother Beth, just like they do in 4th and 5th grade. So they'll meet with her once every cycle, which again is about, once a week for them. Clubs, target lessons and activity really focus on character education. We've got team building. We do service project. We have what's called grade level challenges, which the kids really like. So that's, if you were out here on Halloween and they were, decorating pumpkins, that's a grade level challenge. And they earn points for their grade level doing various activities. And then there's, a prize at the end of the year. So we do a lot of really fun stuff. Like I said, we're challenging, but we want to really make them, have some fun too. And so we provide opportunities for them to do that. A lot of that's through our target program, but that's also where we do some very intentional character development lessons with them. Mrs. Butera does a great job with that program. The teachers facilitate it, and they have a group of, 6th graders will all be together, and there's only, 12 to 14 in a target class. And so that's kind of their homeroom. That's kind of the teacher that's a go-to. We encourage that relationship. And so it sort of serves as that, like, I can go back to this place and this teacher and give them sort of a place to land if they need a place to start to get help. They can come to me. They can come to Mr. Snowden, Mrs. Butera, all of their teachers. But, sometimes these guys, particularly in 6th grade, like, they're used to a homeroom teacher. So who's that, that one person that you can start with to then find the help that you need. So that's a really, really great program that does a lot of different things with the kids. And some different things, right? Bring your own device. Like I talked about, you'll get information from Mr. Fitzgerald about sort of what that looks like. We offer Macs for, kind of lease to own through the 3 years. And then, if you want to purchase your own computer, Mr. Fitzgerald will give you all the specs for that. And then, of course, lockers, which is a huge deal, particularly for the 6th graders. Class trips, we've got our 6th and 7th graders headed to Epcot for a day trip in February, and then Washington, D.C. for our 8th graders is our annual trip for them in February. They are desperately hoping it snows when we're there. I am kind of hoping it doesn't, but that's because I really don't want to get stuck in any place with these guys. And then we have dances. Okay, in this space, we clear it out, which is beautiful. We throw open those doors, and, we let them dance. And it's so fun, to a middle school person who sort of finds the awkward fun. In its really great transition, you can watch them in 6th grade. The 6th graders are sort of, especially the boys, they're kind of the perimeter people. Right, so they're all dancing in one big group or a couple of big groups. And the 6th grade boys, they kind of walk the perimeter, and then they'll go in for a minute, and then they'll come back out, and then they'll walk the perimeter again. And we still have some 8th graders that do that, but they come. Like, they're not afraid to come because this place and those activities are really safe places for them. And so even though they're like, ooh, I don't really know about it, they want to come and they have a good time. Even if they say, no, I didn't dance with anybody. Like, don't ask me that. Or like, maybe, but I don't want to talk about it. So, and it's just, and I will have parents that chaperone, and occasionally they'll be, is that normal? Yeah, that's normal. Right? Like, slow dance start, and all of a sudden there's boys that are running to the bathroom. Right? Like, I don't want to ask anybody, and I don't want to ask anybody to ask me. And so, it happens every year. Every single year, it's the same thing, which kind of, helps us be really good at what we're doing because they're crazy, but they're consistent year to year, right? 7th graders just implode. Like, generally speaking, 7th grade is the hard year in middle school, and they just sort of freak out in 7th grade. But it happens to every 7th grade class, so we're ready for it. Same thing with the dances. We know how to talk them out of their panic, when they want to ask somebody or they don't really want to dance, but they don't want to be mean. So it's just so fun. It really is such a fun experience. And then why we do what we do. So this is, I'm not really sure which class this is. It's within the last several years. But this is why we do what we do. Because we get them to this beautiful point. And they look all put together in that picture. They are not all put together. But they have spent a good 3 years here, working their way through this program, really experiencing extraordinary growth physically, right? If you were to walk in that hallway at the beginning of 6th grade, and then even now, the physical difference in these guys is enormous. And in 6th grade in particular, if you look at the beginning of a 6th grade boy and then 8th grade boy, it is really extraordinary, and the emotional and the social and the intellectual growth goes right along with it. So, and if you get a chance, I don't know if I can get this to come up. This is a really great part of our website if you've not, taken a look at this. A portrait of a graduate. This is really why we do what we do, because, we have an opportunity to help these kids become extraordinary people. They are already, created for a purpose, and we have such a good time and take so seriously helping them walk through that purpose and discovering character, inner awareness, outer awareness. So take a look at this if you get a chance, because it's got some really great pieces from some of our alumni. And, we talk to the high schools. Like I said, we have really good relationships with the high schools. And what they say is, Holy Comforter students, they're not perfect, of course, but they know how to learn. They generally enjoy learning, and they're good kids. Not perfect kids. They make mistakes, but they're good kids. And that's, what we constantly hear, and that's what I want to hear from the high schools. They work hard. They know how to learn, and they're good kids. And so the high schools really like Holy Comforter kids. I can, have some friends who teach in the high school, and they'll say, I know that's a Holy Comforter kid. I just know they're a Holy Comforter kid because of, the language that they use and how they're able to interact and, the kind of kids that they are. And so we're so proud of that. It takes hard work, but we're willing to do that, and we like to do that. So again, thank you for taking the time to be here. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Again, I do want to be respectful of your time. I look forward to seeing your kiddos later today. I'll be popping in and out of some of the places where they are, and they just, they look terrified and excited at the same time, which is really fun. It's kind of how they look the first day of 6th grade. So again, thank you for being here.